Hi, everybody. Russ, the West End Network. Hope you're all safe and well. So, obviously, Saturday, we'll be playing Sheffield United back at the London Stadium after our thumping of Lincoln City 1-0. Sorry, Hal, but we beat Lincoln. Just about.
Good side. Good side.
Good side. Very strong. They kept us right.
Impish.
Kept us going. Impish, very good indeed. But yes, so obviously, off the back of two losses in the Premier League for us against Man City and Liverpool, we play Sheffield United. So we brought Hal in, as always do, from an opposition fan from Sheffield United way. How are we doing? How are we well?
I'm all right, because I like this sponsor that you've got above my head. Because what it's making me think is, if I'm always on this channel, I don't have to go to Turkey and get the receding hairline sorted, which I'm genuinely looking into. Because this is covering it.
There we go. Perfect. I should have made it bigger. I know. I should get one for myself. I'll just hang around like that, and that's okay.
Yeah. No, this is I'm going to stay here. So yeah, here. There we go.
Yeah, my receding hair is well gone. Don't worry about that at all. But my friend had his hair done. He had a hair job. And
is that what it's called?
I don't know.
I don't think it is.
At least I said hair job.
Yeah.
No, he got his done, and cost him. And obviously, Danny Ings, West Ham's Danny Ings, got it done during the summer for £17,000.
I didn't even know he needed it.
Well, neither did I. But and it still hasn't grown back. And obviously, it takes months, doesn't it, for it to properly set? But
I don't know.
I don't
know. See, the thing for me is, I was supposed to speak to my wife about it. This is what people want. I'm giving the people what they want.
Oh, this is what I want, yeah.
It's what they want. And she said, you don't need to worry about it. It's you've got ages till you have to worry about that. But do you know what? I think what it is I kind of mask it quite well, and I brush it forward. But if I'm to lift, I'm not going to do it now.
No.
Then you see quite how far back it's going. And I've noticed it. And it's going back. It's a glacier-like pace, but believe me, I'm noticing it.
Yeah,
so this I like.
You. Yeah, it's you. You notice it, don't you? Yeah.
Yes.
I think I just basically it's pre-lockdown. Just thought, do you know what? That's it.
But I tried that. I shaved it all off.
Yeah.
And then I said to my mum, "Why have I got this dip in the back of my head?" And she went, "Well, long story." So it turns out I was dropped on my head as a baby when I had that soft fontanelle, and I've actually got a really sharp dip, and it looks so awful and so stupid that I can't go bald.
Fair enough. Obviously back in the Premier League. Talking about football now rather than hair transplants. Happy to be back. Happy to be back, Hal?
No, I hate the Premier League. Always have. I think it's an awful league, and I've never really enjoyed it. So no.
Well, it's not. I think for all the promoted sides, really, it hasn't been the greatest start to. It's usually one sort of makes a move for it, doesn't it? But this year, it hasn't happened just yet. And obviously, I mean, we're not going to skirt around it. Last week wasn't a good result for you at all, was it? Really?
Is that the way you're going to put it?
Yeah, we saw that.
Yeah, headline writers have been less kind. Paddy Power were slightly harsher as well. They do these sort of funny little skit videos.
Yes.
Which I featured in twice. You've made it. Yeah, it was awful. It was dreadful. It was the worst thing ever. I say it's the worst thing ever. One of the reasons I hate the Premier League, it's not a kind of like salty, I don't like it because Sheffield United are bad. I don't like it, not because of my team per se, but just I don't like what it's become. Because we're a founding member of the Premier League. I remember, I'm pretty old. I remember very, very vividly life before the Premier League, and I know life after the Premier League, and I preferred it before. And that's not just a nostalgic child that everything's always better when you first get into football, and it is, but it really was a fairer. It felt anyway. You could have a Jack Walker that could be a fan from Blackburn with a little bit of cash, take control, and transform that side. Now, forget about it. A guy from Sheffield who's a millionaire taking over Sheffield United, it ain't going to cut it.
No.
It's not even going to be close to touching the sides. You need a billionaire or a group of billionaires. And what I don't love about modern football is it isn't so much how good's your first 11, it's how rich is your owner.
Yeah.
And that isn't fun. So I'm getting far more interested in, and I started this years ago, probably about 3 years ago, far more interested in lower league football. So Sheffield United, I never miss a game in terms of watching it wherever I am in the world. I will follow it in some way, but I go and as much as I can and watch like tomorrow, I'll be going to watch some third division Cypriot football. I mean, that's my joy now, because it's so honest, and it's all about who's got the best players from that village.
Yes, yeah. No, I get that. I understand that. Obviously, we were over there, weren't we, when we played Larnaca in the.
Well, I
in
went
the
to that game. I went to Larnaca West Ham, and I have to say I thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought West Ham played really well. I thought Larnaca put up a proper good fight. I was really impressed with so many of the West Ham players. Fans were great as well, because it was meant to be an away end. I was on the side. I was just surrounded by hammers. So clearly that didn't get through.
No one got the memo about not selling your tickets to
West Ham fans. And I was in a queue and having to prove that I lived in Cyprus as well, so that I couldn't be a West Ham fan. I was like, trust me, mate, of all the teams in the world that I am not going to be a fan of, it's West Ham.
Let me tell you the history.
Yeah.
And you start talking
Excuse me, security guard. Let me pull you to one side and tell you why I'm not a West Ham fan.
This is Carlos Tevez. No, exactly. Yeah. So, no, I know. Yeah, but it's been funny now, because obviously West Ham, in Europe now, and as you said, it's a strange thing. 3 years in a row now we've been in Europe, and as you said, the fans love it, and on no apprehension we'll win anything. And we won something for the first time in my lifetime this year, or the season just gone, and now we think we're going to win every bloody game. Now it's like, let's not turn into Tottenham. Let's not turn into Tottenham just yet. Do you know what I mean?
You're already more successful than Tottenham.
I know we are. We've got more. We've got more European titles than Tottenham apparently, and Arsenal is Tottenham else. So obviously we look forward to the game, and hopefully you'll look forward to it. It gives you an opportunity to bounce back. No.
It doesn't feel like that, mate. I think the soul-crushing defeat, the nature of it against Newcastle.
Yeah.
Had you been playing us after the back of our previous, just before that Tottenham, when we put in a proper good shift and for 90 minutes we won that game. But nowadays, as you know, added time is not what it used to be. It was 15 minutes added time, and that's another thing that I don't really love about the modern game, because that's too long. It takes a chance away for a fairy tale to happen. It gets less and less likely that a fairy tale can happen when you can have a team that can bring on 5 subs worth 150 million, which is more than our entire club's worth.
Yeah.
And then 15 minutes of added time for the team that is on paper significantly worse. You've just got more and more barriers to trying to pull off something special. That's another reason why the Premier League has not appealed to me. It's been less fun than it was back in the day. I mean, I don't want to sound like I'm complaining, but these things are real.
Yeah, it's true. We obviously we interview lots of ex-players and stuff like that, and it sort of feeds through. I mean, obviously I started to go pretty much my first when I first properly went would have been the beginning of the Premier League, really, but we obviously didn't get in the first, so we got in the second season. And the players that I talked to then, it's money. It wasn't about money. They were paid all right, but it wasn't about money. Now
they had to work afterwards as well.
Now it looks like it's a career. That's football is a career, and so you don't get any loyalty with players anymore. Now, if you get 3 or 4 years out of a play, you've done well. The likes of Mark Noble, for example, 18 years the club man and boy.
It's rare, though. Very rare.
You could probably count on one hand.
I saw it celebrated on Twitter today. One club men. And you had this list. It's such a small thread. Shouldn't be.
No, it shouldn't be at all. It shouldn't be at all. But it is the way it is. As you said, it is not necessarily that the best players, but you look at someone like Chelsea and they can still throw £100 billion on the side, and they're
well. Let me tell you something that I've thought about for a while. If football was really players from the city playing for that club, Sheffield United and West Ham, and I mean like youth club players as well, like let's just say players that come through the youth system, Sheffield United and West Ham would be right up there.
Oh,
because
definitely.
We have both got fantastic youth setups and have produced tremendous players that have made it into the England squad. Sheffield United, people might be watching this going, what is he talking about? Well, Kyle Walker, Dominic Calvert-Lewin, players that have even just played, like Phil Jagielka, Aaron Ramsdale, Gary Cahill was with us, back in the day. This Che Adams, I know he's now decided he's Scottish. David Brooks. These are just good players that would, if they'd stayed at Sheffield United, would have made us not only have a team of players that we all can relate to because they're ours, but we'd be so much more competitive. So actually, that's another thing that I don't love, is that all the players we've got now are from all over the world.
Yeah. It's
so
true.
They've got no allegiance. They've got no allegiance to Sheffield
true.
at all.
I mean, look at the former number 41 at West Ham. He should not be named. Obviously going to Arsenal and stuff, and you think that would back in the day. But even back in the day, to be honest, if you go back to it, I mean, Bobby Moore was going to sign for Spurs once, and so although we see these guys as being pillars, they would have jumped ship.
Probably would have done. Since that real money came into the game. Yeah, probably. I'm harping back to days that are so far gone. It's ridiculous.
So far out the cupboard, so far gone back. And if I'm right, there's a bit of injuries haven't been great to you this season already.
Last season was just as bad.
Was it? Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, we've got nine players out, and last season we got such a small squad. We've got 15 available players according to the manager. So it's going to be, the bench won't be full. We might get lucky, and players will, because our manager Paul Heckingbottom never reveals what's really happening on the training ground. So by the game, there may be players that at the moment we think are injured that are back.
Oh, okay. Well, that's something. As you said, I think.
Also might not.
Might not. We never know. Yeah, Moisey does this famous smoke and mirrors type thing where he goes, and whatever he says at the press conference, you just don't take any notice to it.
Yeah.
It's like,
I don't even bother watching them. I've recorded my match preview before the press conference has happened, and I'm quite relaxed in knowing that no breaking news is going to come from it.
Do you think there's going to be a change of Heckingbottom going? Obviously Chris Wilder again was linked again recently.
Yeah, but that's nonsense. I think anyway. I don't have any knowledge of that other than I think it's unlikely. No, I don't think it would make any difference because what's a new manager going to do? The transfer window's closed. This is Paul Heckingbottom's system with Paul Heckingbottom's players playing for Paul Heckingbottom. If we go down, which we probably will under any manager, who's better to get us back up than the man Paul Heckingbottom who got us up last season? So he's got on his CV that he could do it. So there's no need to change.
Yeah, no, it's a good point. It is a good point. And as you said, I mean, obviously, there has been I was looking at it this morning. A lot of players who have played for both sides as well. I like to do this loads, and
I could list a few.
I mean, it's not exhaustive. There's a few. There's a few. It's not exhaustive at all. But the likes of Ravel Morrison, the man who could have been king. Friend of the channel, Don Hutchinson, Matthew Kilgallen, Valimon, Dino, Tom McAllister, Simon Webster, who sort of was a West Ham player, but then Julian Dix broke his leg in pre-season training and he never played for us again. Carl Reed, Tom McAllister, Merv the Swerve, Mervyn Day. Oh, you see some great players.
Yeah.
Love them.
And you've got a friend of our channel, Wayne Quinn, on there as well. Oh,
I love old left peg, Quinny, big fan of Wayne. Yeah, no. So there's always been a lot of players who end up playing for both sides, and some to more degrees. Other Carl Reed, for example, he played. He was sort of around the peripherals of West Ham youth team, but he actually came back because they did this American thing across in the pre-season with like him and Colton Cole and Marlon Harewood and Tom Skinner from The Apprentice was the manager. And it was like a 7-a-side American tournament. Bizarre, absolutely bizarre thing that is West Ham.
Sounds like a waste of time.
It was, because apparently it all kicked off because someone called it was a racial slur from the touchline. It all kicked off apparently. So
I wish I hadn't commented on that.
That worked well. But so there's always been sort of this. Yeah, there's always been, as I said, ever since Tevez Gate. There's always been this sort of needle between the two sides, and so much so. I remember when we had when Neil Warnock was on the touchline for Cardiff. West Ham fans were still chanting there's only one Carlos Tevez, and it was like,
what happened to Javier Mascherano in this chant?
I don't know. Don't forget he wasn't as good as Hayden Mullins. So,
yes, I remember.
So Alan Pardew decided to they played Hayden Mullins instead of.
And I think time has been kind to Alan Pardew, suggesting that Hayden Mullins was the right choice.
Yes, because I mean, Mascherano didn't win any Champions League or Premier League.
Never heard of him, did we? Really?
Never. Never. And Hayden, God bless him, recently got sacked from Colchester United. So there we go. Hayden was in that group as well. That 7-a-side.
Was he? Of course he was.
Of course he was. So you're not looking forward to the game on Saturday? Okay, fair enough. And you think you're going down? Fair enough. So
I don't know if
much
I
to look
actually
forward to
said
this
that.
season then.
I don't think I've quite said I think we're going down. I think it would be hard to make an argument after an 8-0 defeat to suggest that we are going to turn things around. But I have faith in the group. I would love to have been a fly on the wall following the 8-0 to see how they react. I think it'd be really important how we react, actually. And it's a shame that it's an away game. It's a shame that it's a grudge match. It won't mean anything to the players, of course. They won't even know about the thing that you keep mentioning that I'm not going to mention. So it's too long ago. But for the fans, it still means something. Yes. And we would want to beat West Ham given a choice. However, I think this is a really difficult match at a difficult ground for us historically. Upton Park was a good ground for us, but the London Stadium has proven to be difficult. So tough.
Yes, obviously, I think that the last time was obviously in the lockdown era, wasn't it? So
that was a bad game. Bad
that
game.
was 3-0. We actually, but that was when we started to play really good. That was sort of the beginning of this sort of Moyes era. You know, this second coming of Moyes, and I mean it's quite tight. You know, you're looking. I think we've played. I've got the stats here. 91 times we've played each other. We've won 32. You've won 36.
36, is it?
23 draws. 148 for us and 143 against. So, you know, it's
very even.
Very even.
But I think historically, Sheffield United and West Ham are very similar level clubs. You might think that's very disrespectful to West Ham. I mean, we've won the FA Cup 4 times. We've been in the Premier League less times. We've been in the top flight, I would say, probably similar amount of times. And in terms of players, you showed how many players have played for both. So we've obviously been attracting similar player stature for a while. I think that's definitely changed now. West Ham are attracting a far better caliber of player, but there was certainly a time. And we were both in the second tier for a while at the same time as well. But I'm probably slightly wider than Mark in terms of maybe the entire history, but I'd have to look into it.
I know what you mean. I think you probably said. I think you said. I think we've won the FA Cup 3 times. So you've done 4 times. You've won it all the times with us. So
get in, and that's the real quiz.
That's it. Ding! Point to Sheffield United.
We'll start with a 1-goal advantage for winning the FA Cup 4 times.
Could you imagine? And obviously, the likes of Newcastle would be like on minus points every time.
So, they'd still have beaten us.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So
we start 4-0 up against Newcastle, and they still have won, and that is quite an indictment on, and that's why I'm a little bit down, and that's why I feel so.
Cool, but who wouldn't be? Do you know? I remember listening to a thing during the playoffs. Obviously, Sheffield's Wednesday. Obviously, the arch rivals. Obviously, the first leg they lost really heavily.
4-0. Is this last season?
Yeah, really heavily, wasn't it?
I think it was 4-0, and then they came back and.
And Darren Moore spent all that sort of week like showing videos of comebacks and stuff like that. And I bumped into like one of the guys who was in the final, the striker. I can't put his name. I feel really bad. And was talking about that in a bar randomly. And he's like, yeah, because we were so down in the dumps, and actually that got us up again. So you'd hope the Heckingbottom today, like this week, would have been drumming it into the kit, right? You know, hate the expression. It's 0-0. Start again, guys. But it must have had a huge effect.
We go again.
We go again. It's like the fan base at West Ham at the moment, because there's a sort of divide, because you've got people who are sort of like winning games and we're doing okay, and then you have people who want to play nice football, and it doesn't seem to do the same thing with this Moyes ball 1.0 that he's gone back to. But hey ho. I'm looking forward to the game on Saturday, because I think it's going to be really interesting to see how Sheffield United, how you guys come out of the blocks. You think you want to right the wrongs, so to speak, and it'll be interesting to see how we counteract, because at the moment we've on the back of 2 defeats as well. Granted, it's Man City and Liverpool, but and it's going to be a great atmosphere as well, because it's a Saturday game, and we don't usually
3 o'clock kickoff in the Premier League. It's great.
It's crazy, isn't it? And we don't usually get these. So it's taking full advantage of it. So I think it's going to be really good. I think the both sides of fans are going to be well up for it. It's a sellout crowd. And I'd like to get a win, I'll be honest, because obviously I'm a West Ham fan, and you'd like to get a win because you're a Sheffield United fan.
Well, I'll tell you right now, if I was a God, I can't even say that out loud without feeling violently ill.
If I was in
If I was in your shoes, I would be apoplectic with rage if my team didn't beat the bottom of the league side who've just lost 8-0.
8-0, exactly.
Right? You guys have got the pressure's actually on you.
I think so, totally.
In many respects, the pressure's off us. Everyone thinks we're down. I would probably be using that if I was Paul Heckingbottom. You've got nothing to lose, lads.
Yeah.
You've just been hammered. The whole nation is thinking you can't play football. So go and prove that you can, because you can. You got here on merit. You are good players. It's 11v11. Just go out there and show them what you can do, because I believe in you.
Yeah, no, you're totally right. The pressure is all on West Ham, because I think if you obviously having off the back of those 2 defeats, people have sort of put a line through them because it's Man City.
It doesn't count, if anything. Very few teams are going to get 6 points from those 2.
Totally. And now this is the game. If we don't get anything on Saturday, if we don't win, I think there'll be the old Moyes out brigade will be turned up a little bit more, unfortunately. And then that's just more noise you don't need. But hey ho,
you don't need Moyes noise.
You don't need Moyes noise. You don't need Moyes noise. Boys, yeah, it's just rhyming. We're just rapping. We don't even really know it, isn't it? So anyway, I love chatting to you. You're always very fun, and I do wish you the best for the season. I really do after Saturday, because I like seeing Sheffield United in there, because it's a great game. It's a great game to go to. I love going to Bramall Lane as well.
Yeah, it's great stuff.
It's good fun. I was at uni in Loughborough, so sort of halfway up the way. So I used to go there quite often. My housemate was a Wednesday fan, so he would come with me in the away end, obviously.
I'm sorry.
But I'm looking forward to it. And it's good to see. I said all the promoted clubs, Luton in there as well, Burnley. It's good to see proper clubs. That doesn't seem...
I know what you mean. I think there's a few proper clubs that aren't in the Premier League, I'll be honest with you. Yeah.
Definitely.
It's strange, though. It's like I went to sleep and I left my Football Manager game on go on holiday mode.
Yeah. And
I sort of set it for 20 years, and I just woken up and I go, Luton? Yeah. What's going on here? Who else? Oh, Sunderland aren't in there. Where's Middlesbrough? What's going on?
I know. We had Tom FM, who's a Luton fan, not Luton fan, a Lincoln fan, and
same thing.
Same thing. And we was looking at League One.
I might clip that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and we're looking at League One, and it's like there's some. Obviously, Lincoln are doing okay this year, but there's some big teams in that league as well. Some sleeping giants, and to think that the likes of obviously Wednesday and Ipswich went up into the Championship, and there's still some really big clubs there. Really,
there is a massive sleeping giant in England, and it's very rarely talked about, and it is Plymouth Argyle. And I tell you, if they ever reach the heights of the Premier League, the potential for that fan base is absolutely enormous, and I'm amazed that they've never ever got there.
Yeah, but the trouble is, you're right. It does take that investor, really, doesn't it? It does take.
Why is no one investing in? I mean, this is a completely separate. We'll talk about this another time.
Happens, yeah.
But if I had the money, I would invest in Sheffield United. But if I didn't already have a club, I'd look at Plymouth Argyle and say the potential here is so enormous. As long as we get it right, get the recipe right just once, there's so much money to be made. The catchment area alone, all the young people growing up in the Plymouth area that support Man United, that can change in an instant if they see their team doing well.
Yeah, it's very true. It's very true. I mean, you look at the older Deadpool and what's name and Robert at Wrexham, and how they've changed that whole.
Yeah, they'll get bored at some point.
They'll get bored. They'll get bored. I mean, they've got the promotion. They've got the second season done, and they'll see how they do. And if they don't do well this season, then they're probably
We'll see.
We'll see. Anyway,
I think they're in their third season though.
It's a third, but second series of the show.
Yeah, second series of the show, and that's what actually people really care about.
Yeah, exactly. When's next? What? You've got to wait a week for another episode.
A week, yeah. And just
like
for
football.
A bit of balance, I will not be watching any of that Welcome to Wrexham nonsense.
Fair enough. I quite like it, but that's me. No. That's anyway.
You'll see why in the second series that Sheffield United hate Wrexham.
Okay. What episode would that be? How far into the season?
6. I don't know.
6.
Maybe. I'm not watching it, so I don't know.
You don't know, do you? I always got you.
When you get there, you'll go, oh, yeah,
I'll just text you. Go, yeah, okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, Wrexham's the new West Ham for Sheffield United. Got it.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, on that bombshell, how it's been an absolute pleasure. Go back to your 34-degree heat. Not jealous in the slightest, as it's very grey in Hornchurch at the moment. But as I said, thank you so much, mate. Been a pleasure as always. And I said, wish you all the luck after Saturday. And yeah, we'll maybe chat again for the return leg if you want to come back on. Be lovely to have you, mate.
I wouldn't bet against us still talking about the same things.
Exactly. Yeah, quite possibly. All right, take care, and also thank you everyone for like, comment, sharing. Go and check HAL and the guys at the Sheffield United Way, and we'll put a link in the description. Until next time, stay safe. All the best. Good luck to you. Come on, you irons, and is it up the blades? Is that what you guys?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Oh, there we go. There we go. Up the blades. Come on, you irons. See you later.